Hello everyone and welcome back. My name's dustinkreis and finally a game discussion video. It feels like it's been forever since I've done one of these, so much so that I'm incredibly rusty at them, and this is like between doing multiple takes to try to get this to come out right and the battery dying on the camera. I don't even know what take I'm on now, but things have been really busy. Job has been going crazy. I've been trying to have some kind of life outside of work, video gaming, and YouTube, and so it just makes it really hard to finish these long RPGs. But I finally finished one, so we're getting ready to do a game discussion. But I've been putting up a lot of new content, and hopefully you guys have been enjoying that while you guys wait on the game discussion videos, because those used to be my bread and butter, and it just seems like I'm having a really hard time getting these things out. But today we are going to discuss Suikoden II, and going to let you know if it's worth paying the high price for, because this is one of those games that is not just a pickup, it's an investment. And hopefully by the end of this video you'll have a stronger feeling on whether you want to pick it up or not. But in my opinion, in my view, this is a fantastic game. Such an improvement over Suikoden 1. I really enjoyed Suikoden 1, but at the same time, I felt like the story was really distant and removed. And I just didn't care about the characters, you know. I liked the big epic set pieces and enjoyed watching that unfold. But the character interactions, you know, the interplay between the party, and, you know, it's kind of weird because you have 108 characters, so you can't flesh them all out. But the ones that did get fleshed out, even then, I was like, kind of, so what, you know. That being said, I really enjoyed Suikoden 1. However, Suikoden 2, just out of the gates, man, it is so much better. It really focuses down on three characters, being the main character, who I named Dustin, of course, his friend Joey, and his sister Namine, and or Nanami, however you want to say it. And it shows like their relationship and how it grows and changes and kind of splinters in the presence of this huge war that's going on. And I really did enjoy the storyline. I love watching how, you know, people change and how war changes us, and you know, how relationships just change over time. It's really a fantastic story. It also has one of the sort of most pitch black villains out there. I still think Kefka is the most pitch black villain out of them all, because, you know, everyone says Sephiroth, but Sephiroth you can almost feel sorry for in a lot of ways. Kefka you can't, and Luca Blight you also cannot feel sorry for. This man is just a slaughtering machine. And you know, if you watch RPG Swagman, he goes on and on about how Luca Blight is his favorite villain, and I could see that. You know, I could see why you would like somebody that's just evil to the core. But for me, I prefer my villains to be a little bit more gray and you know, a little bit more subtle. And really, for me, things get really interesting once Luca Blight is dealt with, and a new villain, who's not really a villain, it's kind of weird, kind of comes to power, and you have to face off against them. And that's when the story gets really interesting, because in a lot of respects, playing through this game, when I got to this sort of the last fourth of the game, I really kind of felt like, maybe I'm not the good guy. Maybe what I'm fighting for is not the correct path. And it's really interesting when a storyline can make you feel that maybe, just maybe, you should go along with this other person because they could be very well right. You know what I mean? So a really interesting, a really kind of dense and complicated story. I was really impressed with how the storyline got very complicated. And it wasn't an us versus them. It really kind of got into the intricacies of it, and you really kind of thought, well, who's really right here? You know, which side is really right? That being said, there is some idiosyncrasies with the story, namely the translation. There's several times where I noticed grammatical and typographical errors. There was one point where the spelling of a character's name, spelling of Joey's name, completely changed from J-O-W-Y to J-O-E-I, and then back again. So there was no storyline reason for that. It was just kind of a weird occurrence. I was like, well, that's weird. And then there was another moment where you could clearly tell that one character was saying another character's line. It was like it was a conversation between the party and the villain at the time, and the villain's talking about attacking the party, and then one of the characters of the party says, "I will shoot you down with my arrows," or something like that, or I will kill Dustin and your party with my arrows. And it's like, you're a member of my party. Why would you say that? So clearly, that character was saying lines of the villain at that time. So it a weird thing, But as far as I know, Suikoden 1 was Konami's first JRPG translation over here. I could be totally wrong on that, and if I am, apologies. But you'd think with Suikoden 2, they would improve their abilities a little bit, but it's a lot of text to get through, a lot of editing and things like that. So it's easy to see why there are those errors. It doesn't detract from the storyline. You just kind of notice it, and it's kind of just like a little blemish on this beautiful, beautiful game. Kind of unfortunate, because it really would be almost perfect if it wasn't for that and something else that I'll talk about here in a minute. But yeah, from a storyline perspective, I think Suikoden, it stands up there with all the other great JRPG stories, and it really is. If you love playing RPGs for the storyline, this is one to get. Okay? Let's go ahead and get into the gameplay now. The gameplay, if you've played Suikoden 1, you know what to expect. It's pretty much carbon copied from the first game. I can't really... It's been a while since I played Suikoden 1, so I can't really remember if there's any big changes from that. The Suikoden games, you run around in traditional JRPG fashion from town to town, solving problems, trying to get people onto your side, finding the members of the 108 Stars of Destiny to join your team to make your team stronger. Random battles. You have a party of up to 6 people, which is a lot of people when you really think about it, but you always kind of feel a little bit overwhelmed by the enemies. Like, I don't know what it is. Like, there was never a point, except when I'd go back to like earlier parts of the game and fight weak enemies, but there was never a part of the game where I felt like I was steamrolling over new enemies. It was always a new challenge with these enemies. But where Suikoden kind of changes from other JRPGs is it has sort of a strategy, tactics, light aspect to it, where you have to fight in these sort of big war battles. And this is a little bit where the game gets frustrating, because it almost seems like it's tacked on. Like the developers didn't fully think it out, because there's just some weird, idiosyncrasies with it. Like, each unit has a stat. Like, it has an attack stat and it has a defense stat. But those seem kind of arbitrary, and they don't seem like they really mean anything. In that, I had a unit with 10 strength and 8 defense, attacking a unit of 7 strength and 3 defense. And the weaker unit, like, devastated the stronger unit. Because each unit gets, like, 2 hits before it dies. Just completely took out a hit on it. And I'm just sitting there thinking, but this unit's stats are all higher than the other unit. Why is that happening? There really seems to be an element of chance or luck to these big set-piece battles. And specifically with one battle, which is saving Ridley, which if you've played the game, and I'll put a link down below so you can sort of see what I'm talking about, it gets real. Like, you have to be lucky to get out of that battle with Ridley alive to keep your 108 Stars of Destiny alive. And it was just awful. Like, the one unit is surrounded by enemy units. It takes a full turn before the rest of your army comes in to save them. And I can't tell you how many times I reset and had to do that battle over again, because Ridley would die before my army even got there to try to help out. It's kind of an insane, infuriating battle. And I went online and looked, and basically everyone says, you just got to be lucky and hope that Ridley stays alive until your army gets there. So it took me about 18 tries to get through that battle. So much so that I was actually making a video to sort of plead to you guys to give me some hints on this, because I was getting ready to shelve the game. Like, that's the frustration level I was getting to with it. It was like I was ready to be done with it. But then I got through it and continued on, and the game, I never had that level of frustration again with the game. So, but yeah, there's also these carrying over from Suikoden 1. There's these duel battles, which are a lot of fun. Basically, it's two characters fighting each other, and the character you're fighting will give you a hint as to what it's going to do. And it's kind of a rock, paper, scissors battle where you have to pick between attacking, defending, and doing a wild attack. So, like, you know, a character will say a line and be like, oh, you better be ready for this, which will probably mean that they're getting ready to do a wild attack. So you need to defend to counterattack the wild attack. It's a fun thing, and I wish there was actually kind of more of it in the game. I always enjoyed those battles when they came up. But yeah, so between those two things, I mean, you have a very good JRPG and sort of a weak tactics game in there as well. Very reminiscent of Fire Emblem in a lot of ways. But, you know, you get through the battles, and not all the battles really seem like they have a point. Like, the computer controls a couple of the battles, and you're just like, why am I watching this? Why do I have to watch these units move around? Why can't we just do this on a cutscene? But, it's just how the game is. The graphics, gorgeous 2D sprites. If you love 2D sprites, this is a game for you. I love going into buildings and seeing like the little knickknacks and the little frying pans and things like that that populate these towns. You know, just to think about how much time was spent in making those little items, because you know you really have to put, like, there's a real artistry to it, because otherwise it's just going to look like this little block sitting there. But you really have to do a lot of different color blocks to make these little pixelated frying pans and things, because you know I didn't really realize what went into doing sprite graphics until I started messing around with those little beads to make like little video game sprites. And it really is kind of crazy when you start doing like 16-bit ones, like how many different shades you need in order to make it look really good. So if you love 2D graphics, this is a love letter to you. There are some 3D rendered cutscenes. They don't intrude on the game at all, but I think I would rather have like anime cutscenes in a game like this, since it's so, you know, 2D sprites, it's so anime-esque already. Why not just have, you know, anime cutscenes instead of these 3D renders? But you never see like character models in 3D renders. That'd be horrific looking, but just sort of set pieces and everything. The music. The music, when there's actually music going on, is very good. I really enjoyed the music in the game. It really evokes a lot of great emotions. But for the most part, when you're running around like forests and caves and stuff, it's really just ambient sounds. Like when you run through forests, you'll hear like birds flapping and crickets sort of chirping and things like that. So when there is actual music, it is a very good soundtrack. But mostly it is ambient sounds. So yeah, Suikoden II. I think this video is a little shorter than I originally envisioned it being, but when you get to these number of takes, it just comes out like this. But yeah, this game ranges from anywhere from like $130 to $160, and the price will probably keep on climbing. I would say that if you love great JRPG stories and a great JRPG games with a few little hang-ups, if you can get over a few little hang-ups, definitely seek this game out. Hopefully, somewhere down the road, Konami will release these games on PSN. I know they're available. They're really available over in Japan, but for some reason over here, yeah, I don't think they're on PSN yet. But once Suikoden II gets on PSN, I would tell people to go on PSN and get it instead of tracking down a copy, unless you want it as a collector's piece, because like I said, this is an investment. It's not just a game pickup. You know, this is something that you're going to keep in your collection. You want to keep really nice, and you want to make sure you get a nice, good copy. So yeah, if you're willing to do that, if you like to collect things and things like that, definitely seek this out. It's one of the best games on the system. I loved it. I loved the story. There's moments that was incredibly heartbreaking. You know, I didn't mention this. I didn't get the best ending in the game. I got the second ending. One of the characters died. That shouldn't say that. They get mortally wounded in one of the cutscenes, and there's supposed to be a way you can save them, but I never really found out what the prerequisites for that was. And that character died. So I didn't finish the game with all 108 stars, so I wasn't able to get the best ending. But I got the second ending, which was very kind of bittersweet. And I felt really, really went with the game very well. Like, just a lot of the ideas that are present in the game. It really felt like that second ending might be the true ending. whereas the third ending, which is supposed to be sort of a happier ending, I think, might just be sort of a fan service thing. I don't know. I haven't seen the third ending, so. But yeah, I would definitely tell you guys to go out and pick this up. I am, you know, I've played 2 of these now, and I think the Suikoden series is going to be one of my favorite series as I continue forward in it. I really hope Capcom goes back to it, or Konami. Ugh. I really hope Konami goes back to it. But you know, in this new gaming environment, this new gaming economy, I don't know if a Suikoden game would do very well. I think it's more of a niche title that like RPG players love, but you know, no one else really knows about. But I would love to see another game in this series on the PS3 or on the Xbox 360, and I can't wait to get into the PS2 ones. I hear 4 is a little iffy, but 3 and 5 are supposed to be really good. So I'm really excited to move forward in this series. So yes, I'm telling you guys, if you are willing to make the investment in this game, it's totally worth it. One of the best games I've ever played, even with its little idiosyncrasies. One of the best stories I've ever seen told in the video game medium. Very mature, very thought-provoking. So definitely one of the best ones out there. And I'm not saying it just because it's a fancy game that's, you know, a collector piece. It really is a good game underneath all the hype and all the hoopla. So definitely seek it out. So hopefully I'll get some more game discussion videos coming up here. I have some packages coming in, so there'll be some unboxings here soon. But you know, we'll just keep on going as we've been going. So thank you guys so much for watching. Take care. I'll see you next time.